Alright, today I will talk about Salem's Lot. So Salem's Lot is actually a reboot or a remake of a television series based on the Stephen King novel by the same name, Salem's Lot. Here's the thing. I have never read the book and I have never watched the classic television series. So this is basically my brand new experience with this story, with the source material. So after watching it, well, this is definitely an old school type of vampire film, because here's the thing. From the plot, you can see that this is very, very old school. It is very, very simple. It just tells a writer who comes home to Salem's Lot and finds out that the people in this small town is beginning to transform into vampires. I do think the format of these kinds of stories is into a single film, not a whole TV show, because a whole TV show would just drag it on and on and on. This story needs to be straightforward. But here's the thing. Here's what's bugged me. This film is clearly kind of made for theaters. It was intended to be a theatrical release, but for some reason, for some unknown reason, this film shift release to HBO Max or streaming service, and I do think that was a mistake. Why? Because if this film was released on theaters, I do believe that this film would make a lot of money, at least a decent amount of money. As I mentioned before, this is an old school type of vampire stories. It doesn't have to do with a lot of this more kind of new things. It just sticks up with the materials, with religion, good and bad, wrong and right. That's the whole concept of this film. So it stays to that simplicity. It doesn't have to do with a lot of these new things, just stays to the basic. Stays to the basic lore of vampire. And I do appreciate that. Sometimes we just need a simple vampire film with enjoyable moments and very, very simple lore. The first positivity is the simplicity of the story of this film. It is a straightforward film with a tight pacing and a really, the characters are just there to be characters. What I mean by that, the characters are also simple. You don't need to know their motivation, their background. You just need to know what you need to know. It doesn't really spend a lot of time with the characters for character building because the story does need to. And I do think that is a plus from this film. Now, moving on to the negative. The first negative that I noticed from this film is this film being a vampire film. But the issue is this film doesn't have a lot of vampires in it. Yes, you heard me right. The premise is all about vampires. But there aren't as many encounters with the vampires. And when there is any encounters with the vampires, they just skipped on it. They just show you a little bit of these tension-filled moments and then they move away to the next scene, which was usually an exposition scene. I would do things differently. I would really extend the vampire sequences, the vampire scenes, because in the end, that's what Salem's Lot should be. This is a movie about vampires, populated by vampires. The characters here needs to be afraid, and that's what this movie is missing. The fear factor towards the vampires. I really think that was a miss. They should have just extended these tension-filled moments to explore the vampire and to create a little bit more chilling atmosphere, chilling sequences here in the film. And when there's any chilling moments in this film, usually it doesn't stay long enough to linger in your brain. Now, the second negative thing is, in the original story, there is this big bad vampire named Barlow. And he is present in this film, but his presence here is very, very limited. He barely makes any appearance in this film, except in the 30-minute ending of this film. And when he does show up, you as an audience are not afraid of him. He's just there for the sake of it. He's just there for the final boss fight. The boss fight here is very, very simple. He just gets stabbed in the head by the main character. And I do think that happens so quickly, so your brain needs to process what happened in that final scene, because this crucial scene happens so quickly and it doesn't have the long-lasting effect that it should have. You know, when you have a character like Barlow, this boss fight character of a vampire, you should at least make his performance, his presence really eerie, really atmospheric, so that the audience can feel the scary presence of his character. So, in the end guys, I will give Salem's Lot a 7 out of 10. This is by no means a masterful film or a masterpiece. No. So you need to limit your expectation to enjoy it. This is just a decent old school vampire type of film, and if you're good with that, watch this, because at least for 1 hour and 40 minutes you will get some exciting moments, you will get some entertaining package, even though, as I mentioned before, there aren't as many vampire encounters in this film. So 7 out of 10 if you have seen Salem's Lot. Tell me everything you like, tell me everything you hate about this new adaptation, and if you have seen or read the original material, the novel written by Stephen King, do you think the TV show did it better, or you prefer this remake movie that just came out? Tell me everything you know, everything you like, everything you don't about this adaptation, and see you on the next video.